You can feel it, can't you? Something is changing behind the scenes, and even though nothing has happened yet, the direction this team is about to take could change everything. With the draft approaching, the front office is quietly evaluating all possibilities, balancing immediate impact with a long-term vision. And the decision they make next could define the future of this franchise. But first, click the like button and tell me in the comments, do you think we can win this season? Let's go! Something big is quietly building behind the scenes for the San Francisco 49ers, and if you're not paying close attention right now, you might miss the direction this franchise is about to take heading into the 2026 NFL Draft. Because with just 15 days remaining, the strategy is starting to reveal itself in ways that could define the next era of this team. We're looking at the 27th overall pick, a position that historically can go in multiple directions, but what stands out immediately is a clear pattern. Trench warfare is back on the table. The 49ers are seriously evaluating offensive tackle prospects, and not just any names. These are players with real starting potential, durability, and long-term upside. Let's begin with Blake Miller out of Clemson, a name that keeps surfacing for a reason. Over 50 career starts, 0 missed games. This is the definition of reliability. And when you dig deeper into the evaluation, you see a player ranked 29th overall on Dane Brugler's board, sitting right in range for San Francisco. The profile is exactly what teams gamble on: physical tools, high football IQ, and competitive toughness. Yes, there are concerns about his upright play style translating to the NFL, but here's the key detail. He's already viewed as someone who can compete for a starting right tackle job immediately. That matters for a team that needs stability now, not just development later. But here's where things get even more interesting. The 49ers aren't just looking for plug-and-play talent. They're also considering long-term projects with high ceilings. Max Ianor is one of those names gaining traction. Ranked 33rd overall, he's slightly behind Miller. But the intrigue is undeniable. This is a player who only started playing football in 2021, yet already has over 30 college starts, a strong Senior Bowl showing, and impressive combine performance. The catch? He's raw. He might need a redshirt year, patience, and coaching. So now the question becomes, are the 49ers in a position to wait, or do they need immediate impact? Because choosing Ianor signals a very different draft philosophy. And then comes a name that could completely shift the conversation: Kadyn Proctor, out of Alabama. This is where value meets versatility, in a way that could be too good to ignore. Ranked 19th overall, potentially available at 27, Proctor offers something unique: the ability to play both guard and tackle. And that detail cannot be overlooked. The 49ers don't just have a future need at tackle, they also have a present need at guard. So imagine this scenario. Proctor steps in as a guard early in his career, develops technically, and eventually transitions into the long-term successor for Trent Williams. That's not just a pick, that's a succession plan in motion. Now, there are concerns. Discipline and technique still need refinement. Some teams even believe his best position might be guard long-term. But the upside? Starting caliber left tackle potential. And in today's NFL, finding that kind of flexibility at pick 27 is rare. But the draft board doesn't stop in the trenches. And this is where things start to get even more layered. Because while offensive line is clearly a priority, the 49ers are also eyeing playmakers. Wide receiver is not off the table, even after adding veterans. Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M is one of those intriguing names. Ranked 21st overall, he brings versatility, explosiveness, and strong yards-after-catch ability. However, there's a flaw that could impact his draft stock: drops. It's fixable, But at the NFL level, consistency is everything. Still, his ability to create separation and generate offense after the catch fits exactly what this system has thrived on in the past. And then there's Omarion Cooper Jr., a player who might spark the most debate among fans. Ranked 22nd overall, he's already drawing comparisons to Deebo Samuel, and not just because of his build. It's the physicality, the YAC ability, the versatility to line up inside and outside. But here's the twist. He might actually be a more polished route runner and hands catcher. That's a bold projection, but if true, this could be the type of weapon Kyle Shanahan redesigns parts of the offense around. Especially when you consider that the 49ers have slipped in yards after catch production in recent seasons, something that used to define them. So now you're starting to see the full picture unfold. This isn't just about filling one hole. This is about identity. Are the 49ers going to reinforce the offensive line and protect the future? Or are they going to inject explosive talent back into the offense and reclaim that YAC dominance? Because based on everything coming out right now, both paths are very much alive, and the decision at pick 27 could tell us exactly what this team believes it's missing most. Now I want to hear from you. If you're sitting in that draft room, what direction are you taking? Offensive line or wide receiver? Drop your take in the comments, because this decision is going to shape the 49ers in a big way. And here's where things take a turn that a lot of people are not fully talking about yet. Because beyond the offensive line and the flashy wide receiver names, there is a third layer to this draft board that could quietly become the most impactful of all. And that's the defensive front. Because if you really study everything that's been laid out, the 49ers are not just evaluating talent. They're preparing for waves, rotations, depth that can overwhelm opponents over 4 quarters. And some of the names being discussed here fit that exact identity. Take Caleb Lomu out of Utah, for example. He's not the type of prospect that immediately jumps off the screen with elite traits, but he brings something that coaching staffs value heavily: moldability. He's a good athlete, but still needs strength and development. That means if the 49ers believe in their coaching infrastructure, this could be another long-term investment, similar to what we discussed earlier. Not flashy, but strategic. Then you have a name that could be one of the biggest what-ifs in this entire class: Akeem Meador. The talent is undeniable. There are stretches of film where he looks like one of the best edge defenders in the entire draft. The problem? He's already 25 years old. And in the NFL, age matters more than people think when you're investing a first-round pick. But here's the twist. If he were 22, we're not even having this conversation. He's likely a top 10 selection, maybe even top 5. That's the level of ability we're talking about. So now it becomes a philosophical question again. Do the 49ers prioritize immediate high-level impact over long-term longevity? Because Meador could deliver right away. And then comes another fascinating evaluation. Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M. The production is there. The explosiveness is there. The physicality absolutely stands out. The concern? Arm length. It may sound like a small detail, but for edge rushers, it can be the difference between winning and losing at the next level. Still, when you combine his quickness and aggression off the edge, you're looking at a player who could fit into a rotation and make noise early on. Now, let's shift back to offense for a second, because there's a receiver that might not be getting enough attention, but probably should be. Denzel Boston. He's not a burner. He's not going to run past defenders with elite speed. But here's what stands out: ball skills, size, and red zone dominance. And if that profile sounds familiar, it should. That's the same blueprint that made Mike Evans one of the most consistent receivers in the league. Boston brings that same type of presence, strong hands, ability to win contested catches, and a reliable target when the field shrinks near the goal line. Now back to the defensive side again, because this is where things get really intriguing for the identity of this team. T.J. Parker, edge rusher out of Clemson, is a name that had some inconsistency in 2025. That raised questions. But recently, he's climbing boards again. And that tells you teams are seeing something on tape or in workouts that suggests his ceiling is still very much intact. He could sneak into the end of round one, and if he does, he becomes a high-upside gamble. But if you're talking about a prototype, someone who looks exactly like what you want in a 4-3 defensive end, then Kedrick Falk might be the name that stands above the rest. Size, length, power, ability to stop the run, and still generate pressure on the quarterback. That combination is rare, and more importantly, it's reliable. This isn't just about upside. This is about fit. He checks the boxes of what the 49ers' defensive front has traditionally thrived on, and there's a strong belief that he could become a standout player at the next level. Inside the defensive line, the depth conversation continues. Caden McDonald out of Ohio State enters the picture, even with recent investments already made at the position. And that's what makes this so interesting. The 49ers are not thinking short-term. They're thinking about building waves of defensive linemen who can rotate, stay fresh, and dominate late in games. Add in names like Peter Woods and Malachi Lawrence, and suddenly you're looking at a defensive interior that could become one of the deepest in the league if they choose to go in that direction. And then finally, there's the secondary. Safety might not be the most talked-about need, but it's definitely on the radar. Dylan Thiemann is expected to be off the board early, but if Emmanuel McNeill-Warren is available at 27, that could be a sneaky strong pick. A downhill player with length and physicality, he brings a skill set that could complement this defense extremely well, especially if the goal is to maintain aggression and versatility on the back end. So when you zoom out and look at everything together, this is what becomes clear. The 49ers are entering this draft with options, real options. Offensive line for protection and future planning. Wide receiver for explosiveness and identity. Defensive line for dominance and depth. Even secondary for balance. This is not a team boxed into one decision. This is a team that can shape its future in multiple ways depending on how the board falls. And that's exactly what makes pick 27 so dangerous, in the best possible way. Because whichever direction they choose, it's not just about adding a player. It's about reinforcing who the San Francisco 49ers want to be moving forward. Now I want to hear from you. After breaking all of this down, who is your dream pick at 27? And more importantly, what identity do you want this team to build next? Drop your thoughts, smash that like button if you're excited for the draft, and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss anything as we get closer to one of the most important nights of the year.